Asena was a bright, rising fashion student in Boma. Her dreams were big, and her talent was real. People in the city were starting to notice her bold designs and fresh ideas. She was focused, creative, and full of life. But Asena's world was tied to someone who didn't share her light, her boyfriend Kwame. At first, he seemed supportive. He called her queen and told her she'd change the world. But deep inside, Kwame felt small. While Asena rose, he felt left behind. He was a struggling musician, and every bit of her success made him feel more insecure. Slowly, things turned dark. He'd tell her to tone it down. "You think you're better than me now?" he'd say after looking at her fashion sketches. He started picking fights when she came home late from school or shows. He didn't like her talking to photographers or stylists. "You don't need them," he said. "You've got me." But Asena knew something was wrong. She felt trapped. What started as love now felt heavy, like a cage. Still she stayed. Maybe out of guilt. Maybe out of hope. Maybe because she still remembered the boy who once believed in her. Their love became a storm, loud, confusing, and painful. Friends started noticing the change in her. Her smile faded. Her spark dimmed. But inside, Asena was still holding on. Still dreaming. She just didn't know the price of loving someone who feared her shine. Not yet. Not until everything broke. One night, everything changed. Asena and Kwame had another big fight. It started with words, but this time the pain cut deeper. Asena had been offered an internship in Cape Town. A huge step for her career. She was excited, but when she told Kwame, he didn't react the way she hoped. Instead of being proud, he got angry. "So you're leaving me now?" he shouted. "You think you're better than me because of your little designs?" Asena tried to explain it wasn't like that she loved him, but this chance meant everything. But Kwame wasn't listening. His ego was louder than her voice. That night, Kwame's anger didn't fade. It grew into something dangerous. While she was asleep, he picked up her phone and found an old, private video they had made together. A moment meant only for them. A moment built on trust. But Kwame was hurt and jealous. In his mind, he wanted to remind her who had power. So in a cruel act of revenge, he shared the video online. No warning. No merci. When Asena woke up the next morning, her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages, calls, notifications. At first, she was confused. Then she saw it, the video. Her heart stopped. Her hands shook. Her face turned cold. Her privacy, her dignity, her trust, it was all out there in front of the world. She couldn't breathe. It felt like the walls were closing in. She looked at Kwame, and in that moment, she didn't see her boyfriend. She saw a stranger. A traitor. Someone who wanted to break her spirit just because he couldn't handle her light. Asena couldn't scream. She couldn't cry. She just stood there, silent, broken, trying to hold herself together. But deep down, something inside her cracked. Not just from the video, but from the betrayal. The person she once loved had destroyed her, just to feel powerful. What she didn't know yet was that this pain would plant a fire in her. One that would soon turn into something unstoppable. Asena's life fell apart overnight. The video spread like wildfire. People shared it, whispered about it, laughed at it. In just hours, everything she had worked for began to vanish. The internship in Cape Town was the first to go. They sent her a cold email. "We regret to inform you." That one line shattered her heart. She had dreamed of that chance for years. Now it was gone, not because of her talent, but because of someone else's cruelty. Brands that once praised her stopped replying. People who used to clap for her went silent. Her name, once tied to promise and power, was now linked to shame. But the deepest cut came from home. Her parents were heartbroken. Her mother couldn't look her in the eye. Her father sat in silence, disappointment heavy in the air. "Why would you do this?" they asked. Asena had no words. How could she explain that the video wasn't a mistake, but a betrayal? That it wasn't her fault? But in their eyes, she was the one who had brought shame to the family. Her younger siblings avoided her. Neighbors whispered. The girl with big dreams had become the talk of the town, but for all the wrong reasons. She stopped going out. She stopped eating. Her phone became a weapon, every ping a bullet. Comments online were cruel. Some called her names. Others said she deserved it. Each word cut deeper. Her room became her hiding place. Curtains closed. Lights off. Days passed in silence. She stared at the walls, her sketchbooks untouched, her future blurry. The world had turned its back on her. And the boy who caused it all. He disappeared, hiding while she faced the storm alone. Asena was no longer the rising star. She was the scandal. The girl in the video. The one everyone judged but no one truly knew. Inside she felt empty. Lost. Like a part of her had died. And in that silence, she wondered if she'd ever find the strength to rise again. Or if this was truly the end of her story. Asena disappeared from the world. After the video and everything that followed, she couldn't face anyone. She stopped answering calls. She turned off her phone. She didn't want to see the messages, the comments, the fake concern. People weren't reaching out to help. They just wanted gossip. Her face was no longer just hers. It was on blogs, in group chats, on strangers' phones. Everywhere she turned, there was a reminder of the pain, of the shame. So she locked herself away. Days turned into nights, and nights into weeks. Her curtains stayed closed. The light stopped coming in. She barely ate. She barely slept. She just existed in silence. She looked in the mirror and didn't recognize herself. Her eyes were tired, her skin dull, her spirit gone. The strong, passionate Asena was missing. All that was left was a girl trying to hold herself together. Sometimes she cried until her chest hurt. Other times she just stared at the ceiling, empty. Her sketchbooks sat untouched in the corner. She used to draw every day. Now, even holding a pencil felt heavy. Her hands would shake. Her mind was foggy. Every time she thought about designing again, her heart reminded her of the betrayal, the humiliation. What was the point? The world had already decided who she was. Her parents barely spoke. Her mother moved quietly around the house, afraid to say the wrong thing. Her father didn't even look at her. Asena felt like a ghost in her own home. Alive but invisible. The outside world moved on, but she stayed stuck in that moment, that video, that betrayal. Shame wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. It was always there, pressing down on her chest, stealing her breath. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. But mostly she wanted to disappear. Maybe then the pain would stop. Maybe then people would forget. But deep inside the silence, something was still there. A tiny flicker. Not hope yet, but not completely gone either. A small part of her that wasn't ready to die. Not yet. Days passed, and Asena still didn't speak much. The world outside still judged her. And the silence inside her home still felt heavy. But one night, unable to sleep, she sat at the edge of her bed and looked at her old sketchbook. It had been sitting there for weeks, untouched, collecting dust, just like her dreams. Slowly, she reached out and opened it. Her hands were cold, but her fingers knew what to do. She picked up a pencil, and without thinking too much, she started to draw. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't planned. But it came from a deep, broken place inside her. Her first sketch was dark, sharp lines, powerful shapes. She drew a dress made of chains and fire, strong shoulders, a high collar, and a storm in the fabric. She didn't hold back. Every tear, every insult, every moment of shame was turned into a design. The page filled up quickly. And then another. And another. Her pain had found a voice, and it was loud. Her designs were bold, raw, and fearless. They were not soft or polite. They were full of emotion, power, and truth. Asena stopped hiding. Not from the world, but from herself. In her room, surrounded by silence and sketches, she felt a spark again. She was not drawing for approval anymore. She was drawing for herself, for the girl who had been broken but was still breathing. Her fashion became her fight. Her pencil became her sword. Each design told a part of her story. A girl betrayed. A woman rising. She didn't know where this would lead. She didn't care. For now, all that mattered was that her hands were moving again. Her voice, silent for so long, was finally speaking, through color, shape, and fabric. Alone, and in pain, Asena had found something stronger than fear. She had found fire. Asena knew she couldn't stay hidden forever. The pain was still there, but something inside her had changed. Her sketches had given her a voice again, and deep down, she knew she needed a fresh start. So, with a small suitcase, her sketchbooks, and a heart still healing, she left Boma and went to Kigali. She didn't know what she was searching for, only that she had to get away from the city that broke her. Kigali felt new, calmer, almost like it was waiting for her. She moved into a small room above a tailor's shop and started helping out, just to keep her mind busy. One evening, while sketching in the shop, a tall woman walked in. She had a quiet, powerful energy. Her name was Imani, a model with deep eyes and visible scars on her arms. But it wasn't just the scars that caught Asena's attention. It was how proudly she carried them. Imani noticed Asena's designs and said, "These don't whisper. They roar." That one sentence felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. For the first time, someone saw her. Not the scandal, but the artist. They talked for hours. Imani shared her own story, how the fashion world once turned its back on her after a car accident. But she fought her way back, not through magazines, but through underground fashion shows where beauty had no rules. She introduced Asena to that world, gritty, raw, real. Together, they started creating. Imani modeled Asena's bold designs, and slowly, word began to spread in the underground scene. People whispered about the mysterious girl with fire in her sketches, and the model who walked with pride and pain. It wasn't fame, but it was freedom. Asena was no longer hiding. She was building again, quietly, fiercely. Kigali became her healing ground. And Imani, the sister she never knew she needed, helped her believe again. Not just in fashion, but in herself. Asena stood in front of the mirror, holding one of her new designs against her body. It wasn't just a dress. It was a piece of her soul stitched into fabric. After weeks of working in silence, drawing through sleepless nights, and sewing with shaking hands, she had finally created something powerful. She called it Wounded Royalty. It wasn't just a fashion collection. It was her truth. Every piece in the line told a story of pain, survival, and strength. She used bold colors, deep reds for anger, gold for healing, black for sorrow, and purple for dignity. Each outfit felt like armor, made for women who had been broken but refused to stay down. She didn't want a fancy launch or flashing cameras. That wasn't her world anymore. Instead, Imani helped her organize a small underground show in Kigali. The room was dark and raw. An abandoned warehouse turned runway. The models were not typical fashion faces. They were women with scars, stretch marks, burn marks, women who had lived. When they walked, they didn't pose. They told stories. And when the lights hit the clothes, it was like watching fire dance through fabric. People in the crowd gasped. Some cried. There was no music, just the sound of heels against concrete and hearts beating fast. When the show ended, there was silence. Then a slow, strong applause. Someone posted a clip online, and within hours it started to spread. Fashion blogs picked it up. Activists praised it. Survivors from all over Africa sent messages saying, "Thank you for telling our story." Asena read every word with tears in her eyes. She had once thought her life was over. Now her pain had turned into power. Wounded Royalty wasn't just fashion, it was a movement. It was proof that even after being broken, a woman could rise again, wear her scars like crowns, and walk like a queen. Asena never expected her small underground show to change everything. But within days, the world began to notice. A short video clip of Wounded Royalty started to go viral. First on local fashion pages, then on bigger African platforms. People were sharing it not just for the designs, but for the message behind them. The story of a girl who turned pain into power touched hearts everywhere. Global fashion bloggers started asking, "Who is this mysterious designer from Kigali?" News outlets from Nigeria to South Africa began writing about her. Headlines read, "Wounded Royalty, the collection that's changing the face of African fashion." Suddenly, everyone wanted to know Asena's name. Journalists sent interview requests. Stylists begged to pull her pieces for shoots. Even designers in Europe and America reached out, calling her work raw, real, and revolutionary. Asena couldn't believe it. The same world that once turned its back on her was now clapping for her. But she hadn't changed who she was, she had simply told the truth through fashion. Her scars hadn't been hidden. They had been stitched into every seam, every fold, every line of her designs. She sat in her small room one night, reading hundreds of messages. Some were from women who had gone through similar pain. Others were from young girls saying they finally felt seen. Asena cried softly, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming feeling that her story mattered. She wasn't just a scandal anymore. She was an artist, a voice, a symbol of survival. Magazines called her the queen of real fashion. A major African fashion week invited her to headline. Her followers grew by the thousands, but she stayed grounded. She remembered the silence, the shame, the days she couldn't speak. Now the spotlight was on her, but she used it to shine on others too. Her journey had started in darkness, but now, it was lighting a path for many more to follow. While Asena's star was rising, Kwame's world was crashing down. At first, after leaking the video, he thought he had won. He told himself it was payback, that Asena deserved it for walking away. But the internet never forgets, and the truth always finds a way. As the video of Asena's fashion show went viral, her story began spreading too. People started asking questions. Who hurt her? Who leaked the video? Who tried to destroy her life? It didn't take long for the truth to come out. Old messages, screenshots, and voice notes leaked. The internet connected the dots, and all fingers pointed at Kwame. The same fans who once cheered for him turned cold. His social media turned into a battlefield. Coward. Abuser. You ruined a queen. The comments flooded his posts. Music blogs dropped his name. Brands removed him from collaborations. Concerts were cancelled. He tried to post a song, but no one listened. No one cared about his beats anymore. All they saw was the man who tried to crush a woman just because she left him. The shame followed him everywhere. People whispered when he walked past. Some even yelled at him in public. He tried to defend himself, blaming the pressure, the pain, even trying to twist the story. But no one was buying it. His lies couldn't survive in the same world where Asena's truth was shining so bright. She had risen with grace, while he had fallen with disgrace. His name, once buzzing in music circles, became a warning. A reminder of what happens when ego turns into cruelty. Kwame sat alone most days now, scrolling through old photos, reading angry messages, haunted by a choice he could never take back. The fame he once loved was now his prison. And as Asena continued to rise, he realized the worst part wasn't that he lost the world. It was that he lost her, and the world stood with her. The lights were bright, the cameras flashed, and Lagos buzzed with energy. It was the biggest fashion night of the year. Designers, models, and celebrities from all over Africa filled the grand hall. But all eyes were on one woman, Asena. She walked the red carpet in one of her own designs, a stunning gold and black gown that shimmered with every step. The crowd couldn't take their eyes off her. The same girl who once hid in her room was now standing tall, graceful, and powerful. Her name was called out on stage. She was being honored for her impact on African fashion, and for using her voice to inspire millions. As she took the stage, people stood and clapped, some even wiping tears. Asena spoke simply, thanking those who believed in her, and dedicating her award to every girl who was made to feel small but chose to rise. Her words hit deep. She wasn't just a designer anymore. She was a symbol of strength and survival. Backstage, as she stepped down with her award in hand, she saw him. Kwame. He looked smaller than she remembered, tired, nervous, broken. He walked up to her, eyes full of regret. Asena, please. Just hear me out, he said, his voice shaking. For a second, the room felt still. But Asena didn't stop. She looked at him, calm and quiet, then walked right past without a word. She didn't need to scream. She didn't need revenge. Her success was enough. Her silence was powerful. And in that moment it was clear, she had won. Not just the award, but her freedom, her voice, her peace. The circle had closed, and she walked forward, leaving the past behind.